how's it going everyone? Welcome to Asian Filmist. My name is Ray and I love movies. And the movie we'll be talking about today is a 2002 J-horror classic Dark Water, directed by Nakata Hideo, the director of the well-renowned J-horror classic Ring. And this movie, Dark Water, is based off a novel written by Suzuki Koji, who's also the author of The Ring. It's almost Halloween. I decided to just go back and rewatch some old J-horror movies, just because I haven't seen them in years, and I wanted to see if they still held up the same as when I first watched them years ago. And I'm going to start with Dark Water. Dark Water stars Kuroki Hitomi, and it centers around this mom named Yoshimi and her daughter named Ikuko. And they're in the middle of a divorce, and while fighting for custody of her daughter, they move in together to this old kind of run-down apartment building, which isn't in really well-kept condition, and the caretaker constantly just writes things off in his log, and he doesn't really go and make repairs to anything. It's pretty old and pretty run down, but it's cheap and it's affordable. But once Yoshimi and Ikuko move into this apartment building, weird stuff starts happening. Right from the get-go, she notices this weird wet spot in the ceiling of their apartment, and it steadily, day by day, becomes bigger and bigger, and even water starts leaking. And not only that, but Yoshimi starts noticing this strange red bag which belongs to this little girl that kind of just pops out of nowhere, and Ikuko grabs it, starts playing with it. She dumps it in the lost and found, but then somehow it strangely ends up near her again and keeps popping back up no matter how many times she throws it away. Then she finds out that the red bag actually belongs to this little girl named Mitsuko, who attends the kindergarten in which Ikuko currently attends. But a few years ago, Mitsuko mysteriously disappears, and last as she was seen wearing a yellow raincoat. And now, mysteriously or strangely, Yoshimi starts seeing this little girl wearing a yellow raincoat kind of around her apartment building and kind of following her, and she doesn't really know why. Thus, Yoshimi has to unravel the mystery behind Mitsuko, her disappearance, and her rundown apartment building. When I first watched Dark Water years ago, I thought it was okay. I wasn't genuinely scared, save for the very last scare towards the end. I was actually genuinely terrified with that final scare, but I wasn't disappointed in the movie, so I wanted to go back and see if the movie held up well to this day and see if I can still be entertained with it. So let's talk about the positives and negatives I felt that were in Dark Water. First of all, I thought that the atmosphere was eerie and it was really well put together through the mix of really well framed shots and mood-setting music. The old apartment building, which they used as the center of the story, really did well in creating this unsettling environment that really made the atmosphere all that more terrifying. I really liked how Dark Water really did well in putting together this eerie story without the real reliance on jump scares as what many modern horror movies do. I mean, there are a few jump scares in the story. I mean, it has to surprise you to scare you, but at the same time, it's the scariness of Dark Water really comes from its unsettling mood and its atmosphere, and also the well-timed music and how it just leads up to each climax. And it goes without saying that Kuroki Hitomi's performance as Yoshimi was outstanding. If you're not familiar with Kuroki Hitomi's filmography, she was once a part of the Takarazuka Revue, which is an all-women's theater based in Osaka. So she has a lot of acting chops, and she really shows it in Dark Water. She really does well in portraying this damaged woman who's trying to move forward with her life, but at the same time can't because of all these weird things just spiraling out of control, and everything just causes her to just slowly lose it. And I thought Yoshimi's character was really interesting for the story. She's trying to regain control of her life. She's trying to fight for custody of her daughter, but at the same time she can't run away from how she's neglectful with everything. And because she's neglectful with her daughter, she's neglectful with her responsibilities, things just gets worse and worse. Her daughter gets hurt, and it seems like custody of their daughter is probably going to end up going back to her husband. And that's another thing I really enjoyed about Dark Water. You can kind of interpret it in another way beyond than just a mere J-horror story. You can kind of interpret it as a story about a neglectful mother trying to get over her neglectfulness. It's similar to the movie The Babadook. You know, you can interpret Babadook as a horror story, as a damn good horror story at that, but at the same time you can also take it as a story about depression. And I thought that's what Dark Water did well, is that you can interpret it as two kinds of movies, because the horror aspect of Dark Water is kind of surreal in the sense you don't really know if it's actually happening, just because of how damaged and disconnected Yoshimi is from the world. And I thought that's something that really makes Dark Water unique. So as a story dealing with psychological matters, Dark Water does well, and as a J-horror movie, it does really well at that. And so that all being said, let's talk about the negatives I felt that were in Dark Water. The first of which, I thought the ghost in the story, Mitsuko, I didn't think she was as memorable or as iconic as other J-horror movie icons, particularly Sadako from The Ring and Kayako from Ju-on the Grudge. I thought her character was very sympathetic and really important for the plot of Dark Water. However, as a J-horror icon, she was okay. You're not gonna remember her name. And the only reason I remember her name is because I just rewatched the movie not too long ago. I felt also, in retrospect, this particular negative, if at the time in 2002 this wouldn't have been a negative, but looking back I felt that many story elements in Dark Water were quite similar to The Ring. I mean, after all, the movie shares the same director, the novel is written by the same dude, so of course they're going to be similar in many ways. Some elements include but aren't limited to, the ghost of the story is a tormented girl with family issues. There's a lot of hair everywhere, and hair is used to essentially create this unsettling mood. You have a lead female character who finds that the answer to stopping the ghost is through the power of love. I mean, there are a few more elements that I thought were quite similar to Ring, in particular to the formula, the progression of the story, but then the ones I mentioned, those are the ones that stuck out the most. But other than that, I really didn't have anything else negative to say about Dark Water. I thought Dark Water was a really well done movie put together. And overall, I feel that Dark Water to this day is a must watch for J-horror movie fans, or just fans of horror movies in general. As I mentioned earlier, it's a horror movie that doesn't really rely on jump scares to freak out the audience. It creates a really well put together eerie environment, and its use of music, its use of sound to really build up its scares, and also, tiny children. I think many adults are just scared of tiny children running around. And looking back, is Dark Water scary by today's horror movie standards or tropes? Maybe not. I felt, looking back on it, the scenes where I was genuinely terrified, it didn't really get to me as much nowadays. Maybe because they put out a lot more different types of ways to scare you nowadays, and that kind of desensitized me. So when looking back at these old horror movies, it doesn't get to me as much anymore, but I can still go back and appreciate the kind of stuff that were put into Dark Water that scared the audiences of back then. And despite being scary, it still genuinely is a great movie. And with good horror movies in general, afterwards, you might be a little bit scared of a particular object or particular setting. I felt that Dark Water would, if you watch it for the first time, it might make you a little bit creeped out about riding elevators and also about leaky faucets and water in general. So needless to say, do I recommend this movie? Yeah, you should definitely watch it. And yeah guys, those are my thoughts on Dark Water. What did you guys think? Or what kind of questions do you guys have? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Asian Filmist to join in more discussions about Asian films. And you can even follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And you can even catch me on Twitter at Rayumaru555 if you want to talk about more movies. And as always everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all again in the next video. Take it easy guys.